Alrighty. So, roughly around 1 week before I ended up making this video here, I ended up finding this quaint little game here, Norland. And this game is still in early access, but I think that it's not only a lot of fun, but also got a lot of potential. I think that it's set in like the perfect time, like era for this, which is roughly around the early Middle Ages. So right after the fall of the Roman Empire and the start of all of the various barbarian kingdoms, and so that's sort of like the shoes that we get to fill as a player, which I think is a lot of fun. All sorts of different interesting mechanics to be found in this game, and it sort of combines two of my favorite genres, which is like city builder, resource management types of games, something like Tropico or Surviving Mars, games like that. And then one of my all-time favorite, which is like grand strategy, kingdom controlling, empire conquering, like huge games like that, like something like Crusader Kings or Mountain Blade. And it combines these two in, I think, a really, really cool way. And the game's a lot of fun. And so I wanted to sort of get like a really good grasp on what are like some of the strengths of different cultures, and sort of like what's going to be the best strategies for just like a very basic like layout. Something like what is something that you should be doing with every culture is like a good question that I had, right? Like, okay, so how important are books and learning? How important is trade? How important is, like, is it a good idea to have slaves in your army? Are slaves good for the economy? Like all these different questions and stuff. And I wanted to really like learn all this. So ever since I picked up the game about a week ago, I've been stress testing just all sorts of different mechanics and trying to settle it out, try and figure out like what works best. And so I think I've gotten a pretty good grasp of like, to me, what seems to be like some of the better ideas that I've had. And so I've gone through and I've done multiple playthroughs, and the one that I did most recently was with the Tanaya, and I was checking out different like what's it called? I did like maybe 3 or 4 runs as like the Tanaya culture, and every time I would refine it just a little bit more and more. And then the most recent one I did, I made it close to 20 days in, and it was feeling really good. And I think I got it to the point where at this point I can now start over again, and I've reached, you know, above 95% like efficiency, and like all my ideas I am hoping are sound enough. Of course, you know, I've been wrong plenty of times before, but I really hope that I do get pretty good at this game. I really, really like it, and I wouldn't mind making a lot of really cool videos on all sorts of different things. And so I want to go through and to create a playthrough of each of the cultures. So that's at least 4 whole playthroughs that I can do over the coming like month or two, maybe even longer, just depends. And so for the first one, I want to do what I think is very basic. I want to do a peaceful diplomatic playthrough as the Tanaya, as that's sort of what they like lean into. Something that I noticed part of the way through my most recent playthrough was that the Tanaya culture, I believe it was this culture at least, they got really happy that we weren't declaring any wars on anyone, which seems pretty good to me. So that's pretty interesting. And then I think doing like political intrigues, like assassinating people or like robbing their halls and stuff, gets your own people to like you more, which is pretty cool. So all these like really cool, interesting things that I want to test out. So it's going to be peaceful, and we're going to set up trade to sort of prop up all of our expenses, our military expenses. And then, yeah, I wouldn't mind beating the game. I'm not sure how feasible it's going to be, but from what I've experienced so far, it seems pretty good. It seems like we've got a pretty good grasp on how to set something up that's very simple. So yeah, let's get into character creation here. Alrighty, so getting into it, in a path for potential diplomacy, like a diplomacy playthrough, I'm hoping that this is going to be like just the most bread and butter, basic way to really play the game. I think this would be like a good way to learn the game. On top of that, learn all of like the little nuances and give you ideas for how to play as the other cultures and how to play like other play styles. I'm hoping that this is like just really simple and it works without too much thought put into it, and that it's intuitive. I have made it pretty far. I was almost 20 days in on my furthest playthrough, and it felt like I had learned enough to the point where all of my ideas seem pretty sound. So getting into our family setup, we're going with 2 brothers and a wife. If you're going for like more of like a trade and diplomatic playthrough, I think that having a lot of lords early on is pretty important, and I'll get into exactly why once we actually start up. But with our main character, we want him to have high manners, high persuasion. Reason being is that this is the one that we want people to have, like other kingdoms, to have friendly relations with. This guy specifically, the king. And so by giving him high manners, high persuasion, this drastically increases our chance of being able to pull off diplomacy and whatnot. So pretty important, manners, persuasion. And then intelligence, I think that we're all going to need some. We're not putting any points in trade because our brother's going to be our main trader. But a couple points in intelligence definitely isn't bad. Also because the Tanaya here, they have, if you read down there at the bottom, values intrigues. So something that I noticed was that we needed intelligence for a lot of the intrigues. So intelligence pretty important on our king as well. And then management, this is going to be really important. Management is like pretty much the most important trait for your lords. And then teaching, just so in case we want to like pass off some of our like potential traits to, you know, potential children. So persuasion and manners, we can make one of the children have high manners and persuasion, which could be really good. And then for our king's wife, first things first, she's going to be our intelligence character. I didn't get into our king's special, what are these called? Talents. His talent is he's a diplomat, and this is pretty good because if someone really hates us, then we can potentially get them to stop hating us, and we can sort of get rid of any wars that are potentially coming up. So pretty important, but I would say that the most important thing is this enlightener trait on our wife here, because she has a high intelligence. We made sure to give her at least 15 so that she unlocks this trait, and because she's going to be learning every single book, having enlightener on her will drastically increase the chances of us passing on all of the knowledge that she's learning. So this is like probably the most important thing. What does kind of suck about Norland that I've noticed is that you can't specifically choose your talents on your starting nobles. That would be really good, because otherwise you're just like clicking through this drop down menu and sort of just hoping, which I don't think is really a good method for it. Like eventually you will maybe get what you're hoping to get, but it would just be nice if you could simply choose your talents. I know that later generations won't. They'll just have random talents, and I think that's fine, but for the first nobles, you might as well let people pick them out. But again, 3 points in management, that's just so in case like we want her to manage something, but most of the time she's just going to be reading books, and we'll leave her to that. Manners, persuasion, that's important on every noble, just so they can like at least talk to each other and make each other happy. 0 points in trade, just like our king. She's not going to be doing any trading, so we don't need to worry about it on her. And then you might have also noticed that we didn't put any points in combat or command for either of our first 2 lords, and we'll get into why again once we start up the playthrough. And then as for our brother, major thing is trade. He's also got manners and persuasion. 3 points at least I feel is good enough. 3 points of intelligence, just in case he wants to pass on the trade and the management capabilities that he has. And then teaching, just to help out as well. I think, yeah, everyone's got at least 3 teaching. And then again, no combat or command. His special trait is forecaster, which kind of just luckily aligned. I mean, it's alright. Definitely not potentially gonna unlock this perk or even really use it. I don't think it's that good. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good lineup. The king's 26, his wife is 25, his brother is 22, and I think all of this looks pretty well. As for our traits, I think I went, the same on all of them. Empathetic, just so that whenever they hang out with each other, these social thoughts are going to be enhanced, which is good. And then I kind of like the idea of envious. It sucks that you do have to like choose negative traits. It'd be nice if you could just leave these blank if you felt like it. But envious, I feel like it's kind of like the Romans, you know, like I feel like that's just a very Roman thing. So they're all empathetic and envious, and I'm hoping that envious doesn't actually get like increased by empathetic, which would kind of be crazy because they might end up all hating each other, but I guess we'll see how this all turns out. They're all from the Tanaya culture, and yeah, so let's move on to the next screen, which we get to choose where we're going to live. And last time I did this, we went with enchantment, so I think it only makes sense that we do this again. As we can see, there's a bunch of Tanaya culture here, which I think is good. And then the important thing is your villages. What do you want them to produce and to bring you? And I think it's probably going to be in our best interest to be brought wood and iron. Later on we will be able to, like on this map I've known that there is a mine deposit, so we can mine our own resources, but not always going to be super reliable. So just having a free injection of iron is good. Again, wood, it's just good to have, like sometimes you don't produce enough, and just having some free wood brought to you is very, very good. Yes, as for our banner, I mean, honestly, anything is fine, but I kind of do want some good colors. We'll go with this setup here. And so now, getting into the scenarios, we're going to choose no scenario, and then modifiers. I do really like trade decline. I think this is a good one, so we'll go with that as just a good challenge, because I feel like a lot of people really rely on the Holy Caravan, and I think it's an interesting mechanic to not always get the caravan showing up exactly like every day or every other day. I think that once in a while is good enough. I think it's just fun this way anyways. And then old grudges. I think that this is sort of how the game should have started out anyways. So certain cultures will end up just like hate each other right off the bat, which I think is pretty cool. So we'll leave old grudges on and trade decline as sort of a challenge, and we're going to be playing on hardcore, and then no crisis. So we only got 1,000 ducats to start, so let's get into it.
Nearly 200 years have passed since the end of the devastating religious war. The empire fell, and its former provinces eventually became barbarian kingdoms. The church managed to revive hope, and peace and prosperity reigned over the ruins of the former civilization. Over time, the influence of the church only grew. But history is cyclical, and power cannot remain in one's hands for long. Wars between kingdoms flare up, one after another. Hunger and poverty force people to abandon their homes and seek refuge in neighboring settlements. Can your dynasty unite the kingdoms and halt the advance of the Dark Ages? From this moment on, history is written by you.
Oh, so here we are into it, and Norland, the year 2898 since the creation of the world. 200 years have passed since the Great Crimson Empire perished in the flames of the religious war. Its former provinces have become barbaric kingdoms, kept from mutual destruction only by the all-powerful Church of Mother Sophia. While the holy prophets speak of the impending end of the world, in one of the small kingdoms, a dream of the birth of a new empire is taking shape. Cool. So, getting into it, what is our potential like gains to be made here? First and foremost, I think that it's very important to play a very tight-knit and orderly kingdom. Reason being is that you get all sorts of bonuses from having your settlement like really organized, like everything just runs a little bit smoother. So we are going to do a bit of reorganizing here, and it is going to be important to get some buildings down. But before we get into that, let's talk about finance. I see all sorts of different people talking about different numbers and stuff, but I see no reason as to why not decrease everyone's wages to 2 and then decrease the price of everything to 1. So every single day they'll be able to afford a drink and a meal, and everyone will simply just take the best food and alcohol provided to them. So I see no reason why you shouldn't set it up like this. It seems totally fine. I haven't ran into any issues. I always simply match the wages to the market anyways, like by doubles, right? Like pay them twice as much money as the 2 goods that they're trying to purchase. So why not just make it the lowest? That's my mentality, and it seems fine. And then first things first, or I guess second things second, we need to actually hire in a commander as well as at least a couple of actual warriors. Because look at our nobles up here, none of them can even lead, right? So we will take this. Oh, they're both from the Tanaya culture, which is pretty nice. And I guess it doesn't matter too much. They look exactly the same. So we'll take this chap here. And then we'll go ahead and pick up probably just a couple of warriors. So let's take this guy, and honestly, we should probably take a third, but this is costing us quite a bit of money. So we'll leave this how it is here. So now we actually have some people cruising to our domain to become our warriors. And then the next important thing is that we're actually going to want to start making friends right off the bat, and we're also going to want to start doing some trading. So over here, these guys actually will buy our moonshine if we produce moonshine, so that's really good. Let's see what else some other people are potentially willing to buy, and it looks like mainly just like flour out here. So this is pretty important to right away get into determining what your routes of making money are, at least if you're doing trades like this. So what I'm kind of thinking is we could actually end up buying moonshine from these guys, or selling moonshine to them, and then buying their rye. And then with the rye, I'm not sure what it takes to make beer here, but we could mill the rye that we get from these guys, and then sell it to either Sparksville or Stardale up here, one of these two. So all sorts of little like trade ideas coming in. Right off the bat, we're going to want to come over here to the to Moon Realm and actually make their acquaintance. And so with our brother, if our brother was to want to go and perform this trade, we'll probably end up making more money than through anyone else. So right off the bat, let's improve relations by spending time with our king, sending him here. So that seems fine, and it looks like both of them will become rather quite happy about this. Let's see what we need for the trade. Plus 25, and we're only at plus 5. So hopefully this ends up being fruitful enough. We might have to send an envoy afterwards. An envoy, I think, potentially takes paper, which luckily we start out with a little bit. But we could send potentially like our wife. But for now, let's just simply send the king. We can check out their army, which is what it wants us to do, and that'll be our only focus for right now, is getting them to be our friends. Now let's go back into the kingdom here, and right off the bat, we're going to want to start moving over into the very, very, very first thing is it's going to be a good idea to get an actual library down. So let's go ahead and keep things tight knit. Put this here, and then probably right away just getting into some rutabaga production. So I'm thinking 2 fields like that is probably good. Okay. We also want to not make the manager our king because he's leaving, and we'll simply make it the king's brother. And I think this is all looking pretty good here. Okay, and so a major thing that I've sort of realized is that you don't really want to play on like the fastest speed. Especially learning on, I talk about this in like other strategy games and stuff. It's always best just to learn. You want to take things slow because, you know, while you're learning, you're not going to know about certain things. And so then whenever like a potential problem pops up, if you would have known about these problems, then, you know, you would have had time to prepare for it. You would have probably been thinking about it already. But because you're still learning, when a potential problem shows up, you'll simply miss it. And if you're playing on like times 3, then, you know, you might realize like a whole day or two later, which is like an in-game year. So whenever you're playing brand new to this, take it real slow and just try and keep an eye out for problems and stuff. But for this moment, I think we're actually fine to play at least in times 2. So everyone's nice and happy. Of course, they just started out. And we're going to get the library down right away so that our queen can start learning stuff. Yes, that's probably good. So rye field and the mill. We could just go into rye production. That could be pretty good. We'll have to figure this out as time goes on. But the big thing is, in terms of straight up just like monetary upkeep, your island, or not your island, every time I'm playing a strategy game, I always call your settlement or whatever it is your island. But the major thing is the tax on your warriors. Like, really nothing else besides maybe like trade or other small things like that. But you're not usually spending money on really anything except for your warriors. The church is actually going to tax you depending on the skill of your warriors when you hire them. And so there's all sorts of ways to really start like planning ahead for this. And right off the bat, we want to at least cover this tax. Whatever this tax ends up being, we want to make enough through trade to cover this. And that's going to be goal number 1. And if we can pull that off, then, you know, our settlement here can potentially go on indefinitely, as long as the warriors that we're hiring are good enough to defend us, right? And usually they sort of are. So right off the bat, see, playing on ×1 speed already offering us benefits. Let's see here. What do we want to learn first? We can learn the rye field and the mill, or we could go straight into learning the mine. If you're not sure how like getting different researches works, once you scroll down it says unavailable knowledge. And so if we hover over them, we can see that there's various things that we need to do in order to be able to purchase these books, books on these, right? And we didn't get anyone with a super high knowledge that actually has free like knowledge of something. The last run I did, our queen actually had a lot of intelligence, I think it was. Intelligence or teaching or something. Either way, she actually had knowledge of the chancellery, which was really, really good. It felt kind of overpowered because it's kind of like a lot to work up to get the chancellery. 9 production buildings built. So now I'm curious if that means like these rutabaga fields out here, or if they actually need to be production buildings. I guess we'll find out in the future. But for now, let's see. Yeah, so a big thing is unlocking the mine just by researching it. And I think, yeah, just researching it is enough to actually get stuff like coal furnaces, workshops. And then once you get the workshop unlocked, then you can do like paper workshops, armor forges, and weapon forges. So that could be something really good to go for right off the bat. Then again, we could just trade for all of these goods instead. And maybe it would be better to focus on making a lot of money early on. I think that's what we're going to do. Yeah, so already decided. The hop field and beer. Hop field and beer. So I think hop field and beer and rye field and mill are going to be really good. So let's go ahead and start with the rye field and mill. No, not learn. Yes, learn. And of course we're going to want to choose our queen. So this is what she's mainly going to be doing. Just learning pretty much everything that we're unlocking as we get it. So doing the rye field first will allow us to plant them and have rye being produced, and we'll probably even mill some of this up, and then we can get the hop field, which I think takes rye to begin with, so doing the hop field and beer first wouldn't make any sense. But either way, there's that. And then these rutabaga fields, we can probably turn them into simply food for the pig farm that we'll get later on. Probably a pretty good idea. And so playing in the slowest speed, I've come to realize something pretty important, and that's like when you go to give people different actions, a lot of the times you'll notice that they'll just stop doing whatever they're doing, even if it's something that you think is pretty important, right? Like our queen, we want her to spend a lot of time in the library. So imagine if like every time she showed up to the library right away, if you weren't really paying attention, you kept giving her tasks, then it would feel like, this would take forever. It would take forever to research this because we keep interrupting her. So playing in the slowest speed, that's something that I've realized is pretty important. So right away, a request for assistance. And let's see here. So it looks like many people from these southern cultures down here are going to attack the people of Sparksville, which doesn't seem good. And on top of that, Treewood has... I'm not sure who is the leader of this alliance. An ally of Moonrealm. That's good because, hey look, they're buying Rutabaga. So we can sell these guys Rutabaga, sell these guys Moonshine. And then something I didn't talk about was while you're setting up the world, you can actually choose, like, just to, give yourself kind of the upper hand, you can choose people nearby and determine what they'll buy and sell, which can set you up huge, right? Like, right off the bat, it would be really nice if, someone bought Moonshine, this guy bought Rutabaga, and you could very quickly start setting up a lot of friends that could start netting you a lot of money very, very early on. So this is giving me some pretty good ideas. We can sell these guys Moonshine, sell these guys Rutabaga, and then buy all of their rye, produce maybe a little bit of our own rye. Potentially we wouldn't even need to produce rye though. We could just buy rye from these guys, turn it into beer, turn it into wheat, and then we'd be up huge. We're turning Rutabaga fields and Moonshine distilleries into, bread and beer, which could be a really good start on things. And then Treewood down here, he doesn't really like us, right? But we can also go and improve our relations with him and then request to... This action can only be performed with a neighbor with whom you share a common border. Let's see if these guys... Well, we'll leave things as are for now. I wonder how long this is going to take. We haven't even left yet. Is his king still here? Early balding, monogamous, king impressionable. Hopefully that's good for us. Larimon, 44 years old. Cool. Okay, so we're going to make friends with this guy. People he likes, people he doesn't like. Yeah, so that'll be really huge for us. And I don't think we actually will produce our own rye. Actually, no, we will produce our own rye, and then I think later on we'll buy this to further production. So that way we don't have as many people out in the rye fields. And we can have more production buildings, which will get us closer to getting the chancellery done. I think that'll be a pretty good move for us. Let's go back into this. Again, once we actually become really good friends with these guys, the king isn't going to set up the trade deal. We're going to have our brother do it. And so that's why he's sort of just hanging out, not really up to much. Right off the bat, we of course want to send our brother over to get these Rutabaga fields managed. And the first night or two, we don't really care about, our nobles getting a lot of sleep and stuff. We're just trying to get ourselves into a good position. People have nowhere to pray, that's fine. Taverns aren't functioning, alcohol production is absent. Food production was absent. Let's go ahead and pause this. Get our brother. Actually go here, appoint manager, and make it our brother. Very good. So now our brother is in charge of two things, and because he's got, a really high management skill, he's got 11 points, I think. We can double check that. Yeah, 11 management's really good. So he's going to give huge bonuses to Rutabaga fields, to alcohol production, to all sorts of different things. And so that's going to be really good to set him up managing buildings that are going to be like goods that we're selling, right? Very straightforward planning and ideas with that. Let's check on the Tanaya here, on Moonrealm. Spending time with their king, very good. Who's this guy? Wonder where he's going. Looks like he's going down here. Looks like he's going to raid their little village over here. Insufficient workers. Did we finish another rutabaga field? Almost. Two empty work slots, so we'll just decrease that so it doesn't look like we have not enough workers, even though we don't. Request for assistance, we'll just get that to go away. And already our queen is spending some time reading up on books, which is really, really good. So something I realized is it's actually a good idea to actually have more production buildings than you really need. Or, well, not really production buildings, just places where people can work. So that way we can press this little arrow and it'll decrease the amount of worker slots. And then once people move in, we can just click this up a couple times on various buildings and instantly people have jobs, which is pretty smart to do. So it looks like we're going to finish this rye field and mill on the first day and potentially set them up on the second day, which could be pretty good. Set up the mill probably right away. I've actually never built a mill, so this will be pretty interesting. And yeah, let's go and check in on this again. Still cruising along. Let's go on ×3 because I'm pretty sure that all of my planning is sound right now. But before we let this finish, we should probably construct just at least something else. One other thing. Let's go ahead and start with housing. Let's get a second dormitory for the peasants down here. And hopefully they can get that done before the end of the day. They might not be able to though. This is done, so let's go ahead and turn down worker slots and appoint another manager. Make it the king's brother again. And many people probably already know this. Any of your instructions given to various jobs and stuff last for around 3 days. And so while Enelor here is off doing trade deals with potential neighbors, at least his instructions will have lasted. Not enough workers for this. Let's go and decrease that then. And yeah, everything seems fine. So, cool. We just got this done. And let's see. I think it's close. Oh wow, look at this. We can request to join their alliance now. Okay, so this is something pretty important. Requesting to join an alliance is really good, right? Because people will help you out, especially if you make them really happy. I think these little wing icons mean that they'll come to your aid. But in joining their alliance, something pretty important is that it'll actually increase like the trade within the alliance, I'm pretty sure. Let's see here. Alliance members can enter into trade contracts without restrictions, and the market demand increases. So really good. Let's go ahead and request to join the alliance, and let's hope this works out. So we can see we're already like in the town, and you can imagine if like you were playing on like ×3 speed, and your king made it like halfway back. Like that's just hours of, you know, the first important couple of days that you're not really taking advantage of. You're just missing out on a bunch of stuff for like no reason. Playing on the slow speed, there's still a lot of things that will constantly be drawing your attention anyways. Insufficient workers, it says. 2 workers there. A worker there, a worker there. That seems fine. And on the first day, usually you simply get 5 new immigrants. So we'll have, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 brand new workers. And hopefully we finish this dormitory. It's halfway done. They might quit their jobs soon. Maybe we should have left someone else working here. I don't even think these guys are producing anything today. Yeah, on the first day it doesn't seem like they really produce much. Or anything at all. Yeah, we definitely should have had another worker. I think it would have been done. Cool, so let's go ahead and pause this. The market volume for all goods has increased. Cool, the state you are a part of is recently expanding, meaning the local demand has increased due to the residents of the new province. So I believe this will increase further later on down the line once other people end up joining your alliance, which is really nice. Result Moon Realm. I'm glad we were able to establish an alliance between our cities. We are indubitably in need of each other's support. Long gone are the times when neighbors lived in peace and harmony. Cool. Signed in the presence of the Bishop King Lairman. You've entered into a contract with Lerman and are now part of his alliance of free cities. This means noble houses promise to help each other if either side's city is attacked by another noble house. Cool. The treaty does not apply to the defense of villages or bandit attacks, so the small little villages, or if you're being attacked by bandits. All members pledge to send their warriors to the rescue if someone in the alliance requests aid. I actually don't even know how to request aid, but potentially something pretty important to learn. A province's membership in the alliance will be revoked if their relation with the leader drops below -25, so don't want that to happen. Warfare, dark deeds, and intrigue between allies are also precluded. Alliance members can enter into trade contracts without restrictions and the market demand increases. Let's read this. Local demand indicator proportionally increases for all goods when your province is part of a state, a vassal kingdom, or alliance of free cities. Demand capacity will increase based on the total population size of all the provinces in that state. Okay, that's interesting. Members of the city alliance cannot have vassals. Okay. And aggressive actions towards other kingdoms not part of the alliance are restricted by the requirement of neutrality. And plus 15 relations with this dude, which means that now we should be able to pull off our very important trade deal. So they'll buy our moonshine. And so as we can see, they'll buy 16 moonshine for $64 on a daily basis, right? And so that means $64 a day. $64 a day. That's pretty good. Definitely nothing to scoff at. And that's probably enough, hopefully, to cover our like beginning little army that we're setting up. So if we click on this, we can see that the king would only get $3 per item, so only $50 a day. But our brother, who's a better trader, will actually get, oh, and their trader is also high level. Hint, if Tola were infatuated with Enelor, relationship above 100, they could offer a large discount. Interesting. Let's go and see about the other guys down here. Treewood. They don't really like us. That's sort of a shame. Improving relations, spend time. So we have to wait a whole entire day. Okay, not very viable. Alliance of Free Cities, improving relations. So let's just do this moonshine trade. I would have liked to set this up with Enelor here, but potentially we'll do this later on with maybe something else even. And so if we come back to our little city, we can see that all of Enelor's management instructions should last. And now the king's coming back, and once he's back, then we'll make him be the manager of all of this stuff. And so that'll be fine. And hopefully they finish this building on this first day. But I don't think that there's really anything else that we really need to be doing here. 5 migrants show up. Oh, they finished it. Wow. Let's go ahead and increase all of our job slots back up to maximum capacity. And right away, we should have no homeless and no unemployed people right off the bat. Very good. And we're almost done with the rye field and the mill. It looks like she'll be done hopefully before the end of the first day, which could be really good. The king's back, so let's go ahead and get rid of our brother managing all of this stuff. We'll probably put him back on it if he shows up before his previous instructions have gone away, but for now we'll leave the king on it. Rye field and mill. Cool. Very cool to see. Let's go ahead and pause the game on up. Construction. Check out our new building. We have the rye field. The harvest is collected every 3 days, and sometimes it may perish if there hasn't been rain for a long time. Every 10 days it requires fertilization by burning 40 wood. 3 workers can produce 66 rye, which seems pretty good. That's 22 rye a day. The rutabaga field only produces 21 per day. So the rye field will actually produce more like crops in the end. Let's look at production, and we also have a mill. Here flour is produced, 1 worker can produce 26 in a day. So let's go ahead and I guess we set up the rye field for the next day. It's important, I think, to like have all your planning set down. It's probably going to be more important right now to get probably 2 entire lumber mills down. And then probably the brewery before anything else. Let's go ahead and set it up here. And then let's go to service. A quick altar is probably a good idea. Let's actually demolish this. Move this one space down. Construction, altar. Right there. And let's go ahead and set up the tavern. Move this on over, and then just one last thing, our brewery. Cool. I like the way that all looks. And there we go. So now it's probably a good idea to start researching the next thing. Let's do the hop field and beer. So let's go ahead and start learning that with our queen. And then again, because she's got this very, very good trait, her talent, she'll be able to pass off this knowledge that she's learning very, very quickly at roughly twice the probability, which seems really, really good. Loyalty decreased. Annalore accepted a gift from Odo. That's not good. At 30 loyalty, if it's below 25, then he'll start to rebel. Potentially rebel. And he is really good. He's sort of like an important bit of our kingdom, so we are going to probably try to give him kings potentially, or not kings, but rings in the future. Let's see, city buys Rutabaga. He hasn't left the kingdom, I don't think yet. No. Who is this guy following you? Who are you? I wonder who gave him these. It doesn't say. I guess we'll never know. I reckon that it's probably Treewood. Seems like they don't really like us. And you know what? It's probably a good idea once the king's home to simply send our king to spend some time with him. I think that'll be pretty important. The trader shows up on the first day. The holy trader, but Annalore isn't here, so we won't bother doing any trades for now. And yeah, I think everything's set up to sort of be chilling for the first day. So, first things first, what do we want to get done? Primarily. It's probably going to be a good idea to get the lumber mills done first. I think it queues up in order of what you place, so they probably would have been done first anyways, but we'll go ahead and do that. And as you can see, our money isn't fluctuating too drastically in the beginning. We're like losing $1 here and there. You know what? Let's actually just look at the trades though. We'll do the trades with our king. Because he has no trade skill, we're gonna get probably terrible deals. Not too bad. We could buy the temple book, herbalist, get a scaffold, flavorful ale. I'm not really seeing a whole lot that I really want to trade for. Potentially just the temple, but then again, maybe we save our money and get something that'll be more important later on. But then again, the temple will be pretty important, so let's go ahead and pick this up now. It's the only thing that I'm really willing to trade for presently. Wow, I gained 2 whole points of 2 whole levels. Yeah, 2 whole levels in trade just for his first trade. That's funny. Who else requests assistance? Sparksville down here. They're not trading anything that we're really caring about, so we'll just go ahead and ignore that. And leave things as they are. It looks like the King of Treewood's almost home, I think. No. Cool. I greet you, Moonrealm success. I greet you, Draylen. For me, it is a great honor to engage in a trade agreement with you. Trade above all serves as an assurance of peace between our kingdoms. Signed and sealed, King Laramon. Laramon, you and you have entered into a trade agreement. Relation with Laramon have improved by 10, which is really nice. The city budget of the partner will increase, and the population of their city will grow by 1 inhabitant after each transaction. As part of the trade agreement, they're buying all of this stuff and giving us money, which is very good. So, for me, what we're going to do is actually just set up trade automatically. And getting into it, what I'm thinking also is let's actually not build these up first. Let's build them up afterwards. Let's actually get the brewery done first, and then we'll probably take some people away from the rutabaga fields, just so we can start producing as much moonshine as quickly as possible. Everything seems good. Enelor is shown back up, and that's fine. We did also pick up the book for, what's it called? The temple. We'll learn that next, I suppose, and then we'll move on to the mine, which isn't too important, and we'll probably buy some slaves to go work the mine. Sitting here thinking about it. Even though slaves can be pretty expensive at the best of times. Kings are still coming 14 hours until they show up, and I think the beginning of our first day, maybe around midday, is probably going to be the end of episode 1 here. Yeah, this game's really cool, and I do want to see sort of like what the end game looks like, and so that's sort of been what I've been doing pretty much the past like 5-6 days. Really just kind of cracking into this game and seeing what it has to offer. I really like a lot about this game. I've kind of had like ideas similar to this. Like it would have been cool to see a game just like this one. I really like, the entire world system that it's got going on. It definitely could use with some like improvement. There's just like small things, but the game's still, I believe, in early access, so improvement is bound to come, but I think that the game already offers so much. Something kind of minor is it would be nice if the map was a bit bigger, because right away, as you can see, like the kingdom that I'm a part of is like, what is this, a quarter of the entire world already? Yeah, pretty much. There's 3 of us, and I think there's 12? 2, 3, 4. No, maybe like a bit less than that. I thought there was only 12 because there's like a major goal to recreate the empire is to actually own like 12 provinces, I think. And so having a slightly bigger like world map would be pretty cool. We need to build a lumber mill. The treasury is nearly empty. That's fine. Loyalty is going down, I believe. Oh, it's going back up, so we're good. People have nowhere to pray. That's fine. Taverns are not functioning. Alcohol's absent. Very weak army. So let's get the brewery done first, because we do need to start producing some money. And then, as we can see, let's turn this guy off and have it Enelor again. Turn this guy off and have it Enelor. 57% bonus. And as we can see, the workers are just now showing up. We'll leave Draylin in charge of the actual keep itself. I don't think that's too important. And even then, he does still have a pretty decent amount of management skill. Sitting at 12. Wow, he feels inspired today, I believe. Yeah. He's getting 5 points in everything. And see, like right now is potentially like a time that if you wanted to cheer up your queen, like you might have sent Draylin to talk to her, and it's like, well, she's busy right now reading a book. And if we would have done that now, he would show up, walk in here, and take her away from this duty. So we will give it a bit of time before we get into that. And then I'm not sure how many people need to be present in the brewery. We'll probably take away 1 person from each rutabaga field for now. It's probably fine. And again, we want our brother, Enelor, to be in charge of the brewery, of course. Only 1 worker, but we can spend 3 of our iron and a bit of wood to upgrade it. So let's do that. Build this first, please. Cool. So things are looking pretty good, and then all we gotta do is... a worker already started working in it, that's good. And once it fully gets upgraded, we'll take another worker away from this rutabaga field, and we'll be in a pretty good spot, I think. Cool. And we'll wait until the queen is done reading her book to actually send Draylin to spend some time with her. Remember, everyone's got the empathetic trait, so everyone's a bit happier while they are hanging out with each other. Mild loneliness, mild fatigue, and he's agnostic, which sucks. Agnosticism definitely is a bit of a downer. Cool. So they finished up the brewery, and we can take a worker away from here. Things are looking really, really good. We could upgrade it again, I think, but potentially not that big of a deal this early on. So we should actually start producing some moonshine, hopefully today. But we need to actually go into production. So again, major reason why you want to do your best to play on the slower speeds. I probably missed the entire morning of production there, just because I was playing on ×3 through the whole morning. Hopefully that's not that big of a deal though. Hopfield and beers. So let's go ahead and go into knowledge again, and let's start learning the temple. That'll be pretty good. Demilla. Knowledge, Hopfield, and beer. Cool. So let's go into here and we can learn the Hopfield. Very, very nice. Harvest is collected every 3 days, and sometimes it may perish if there isn't, or if there hasn't been rain for a long time. So again, another 40 wood every 10 days. And we're getting 56 hop from this. So it seems like one rye field and one hop field will be all you need to produce beer, I believe. Yes, so you need 1 and 1, and it produces beer. So that's really good. But we're going to leave this on moonshine production so that we can start producing the moonshine to sell. And honestly, yeah, I guess get this lumber mill done. I kind of would have rather have had the tavern and the altar done first, but too late now. Don't want to slow things down. And everyone seems happy enough that I don't really need to go through and change any of their like priorities right now. The building needs a manager. This up here, we'll just simply appoint Draylen. Getting extra wood I don't think is too important early on. We have plenty of it. Still have 200 units of wood. We could, however, go through and start upgrading these with wood, which will be good. And then we'll upgrade this lumber mill as well. Something that I've realized sort of early on was that it's like a tooltip somewhere. It says that you want to, like, it's better to upgrade buildings than build new ones. And that's really, really true because your nobles can only manage so many buildings. And I like to have them on 5 up to 7. It says they can do 10, but I realized that maybe it's just sort of like a coincidence, but every time I've done that, gotten them up to like 10 buildings they're managing, it seems like they're just never really content. They're always like, you know, a bit unhappy. So I like to aim for 5, potentially move it up to 7. And in order to get the chancellery, we'll probably push that even further up. Let's go over here, appoint manager, Draylen again, set the upgrade. I'd rather them get the tavern done first today, and then they'll move on to the altar. Whichever one came first, I guess, is fine. Not enough workers there. We shouldn't have put workers on the lumber mill, honestly. Just for now, how many people are showing up? Potentially 4, so we'll probably be able to fill in every single job slot, which will be very good. Did we produce? We did produce, and we got 4 bonus. How much is this? Only 9. And our trade deal is 16, so probably not going to have enough for the first trade deal, but that's okay. Sparksville, consequences of war. Okay. Well, we're not neighbors with Sparksville. It's close, but I don't think that counts as neighbors. But that's fine. Five migrants showed up. Cool. So let's go ahead and get all of our job slots filled in then. Cool. And we still have one spare peasant for something, but we don't have any job slots currently available for him, but that's fine. Everything seems to be going really, really quite well. Hopefully the trader shows up today. Probably won't, but that would be nice if he did. Or a noble. A noble that can do something in particular for us would be nice. Oh, we actually probably got our army done. Yes, the entire army showed up, so we're spending $78 a day. So even our best trading that's going on, we're making the 66, even if it's like fully fulfilled every day. We're actually not producing enough. Kind of worrying. We'll just have to see how things turn out. We can always just sell like whatever's left over afterwards. Of course, that's fine. I'll get in how to exactly do that. The ruler of Brightvale has died. So this guy down here is dead, and that's fine. Trade deal, Alliance of Free Cities. Ooh, it'd be cool if this guy joined us. Who's this? These guys like us. Invite to your alliance. So we need a stronger army than him. And then potentially we can invite him to the alliance. That could be good. They're buying beer, which is something that we want to produce. And then these guys are buying wheat. It would be nice if we made like this entire thing like part of the alliance. That'd be really good. And then maybe even Stardale up here, just so we could start getting some serious trade happening. Let's see what they're selling. I haven't really looked at that too much. What is this? Herbs. So they're selling herbs. These guys are selling wood, which is nice. And these guys are selling metal, which is really nice. Demilla is finally done. So now let's go ahead and get Draylen. And let's send him to spend time with Demilla. Cool. So now the king and his wife are going to spend a bit of time together. Hanging out. Putting each other in a better mood, which is very nice. I think that it's really funny, the little quotes that they speak about in this game. They always say rutabaga. Anyways. So yeah, things are looking really quite good. We don't have any cutthroats. We have 3 warriors. Crime's non-existent. And then, first things first, I guess we could do it now a bit. Let's set up some decor. I think this really makes your little settlement look a lot better. Let's do a stone arch. I kind of like the idea of a stone arch there. Banners. We could put like a banner here and here. That looks cool. Let's set some more barrels up around. Like here. I think that looks good. Another barrel there. 2 barrels sitting outside this little peasant house. Barrel there. 2 barrels sitting here. Let's do some lighting. Let's do a light here. And here. Cool. Rutabaga. That looks good. Let's do a torch like this. And then a torch like this. Cool. Can do a little bonfire out here, I suppose, is fine. One in front of each of their little homes, and then maybe like a torch right about here. Cool. Get a very large stone. Put it maybe just out here for now. Plants. Some trees. Ooh, I really like trees. Let us set up a tree here and there. Set one up over here. 2 outside the library seems fine. A couple of them like that. Nah, I actually don't like that. Construction, decor. I wonder what these are. No, they're too small. I don't like that. I do want these, but I don't want like as many as I had. That seems good enough. And we'll work on some expansions later on. Cool. I really like that. Let's throw down some random plants here and there. Actually, I want to destroy this one. And this one might as well. Okay, so we're cruising into pretty much day 2, it says, but I think that's technically day 3. So the 3rd day. And as we can see, like the king and the queen should have been sleeping, but instead of that, they've been just hanging out this entire time, which is the importance of making sure that you choose good moments to give them actions, because sometimes, you know, like, let's see, is she tired right now? Yeah, like she needs food and sleep, but she's not doing either of those things, and so it's making her tired and she's hungry. She's going to eat now, but we'll let her finish up the temple, and then we'll probably leave her alone for like the rest of that next entire day, just so that she's not in a terrible, terrible mood. Her sleep is really down, and she's probably going to end up just like passing out throughout the day. Hopefully Draylen's not in, yeah, he's not in such a bad state. Cool. And so there we are, made it to, still says day 1. I think this is like the 3rd day though. But either way, yeah. I think that things are going swimmingly. We have trade deals set up, all sorts of other very, very nice things. Let's see if trade hasn't started yet. And we almost have enough moonshine for our first bit of trade deals to actually start being fulfilled. But right off the bat, I don't think... No, we are doing production or construction on our lumber mills. So, you know, of course you always want to play in the ×1 speed. And I'm hoping that this playthrough works. Like all my plans come to fruition. That's what I'm really hoping for. I kind of want to sort of lean into each of the cultures and do whatever I think makes them specifically unique and strong. So like the Kaiden, of course they're like the warriors, and they're kind of like Vikings is what they remind me of. I mean, they are blue, and they value like honor and bravery. And then the Makta are, I think that's how you pronounce their culture's name. They're traders, and the what's it called? The Holy Mother actually doesn't like them. And so that could be a really interesting playthrough to play as. I'm not sure how that all works, but I was about to start that for this playthrough here, and it said that you should probably know how the like holy church works. And so I figured, you know, should probably spend a bit of time learning that before I move into something that requires previous knowledge of it. And then there is the Varn, and they seem sort of like a middle ground. They sort of remind me of like the Celts in a way. They seem pretty interesting. I'm not sure exactly what their whole deal is. Not diplomacy, not warriors. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's... Oh yeah, it's like the naturalist one, the herbalist, and I think they get like increased production on pig farms and stuff like that. So again, probably another like trade empire to play as. But I do want to sort of like play as each culture, do at least one playthrough of each of those, and see how far I can make it in each of the playthroughs. And so I think for the future playthroughs, they're going to be probably a bit more condensed. I might do a handful of like editing maneuvers here and there to sort of speed up the flow of the video, but I want to keep them around 30 minutes long and have them posted every couple of days, sort of how I've been doing with just other playthroughs that I have on my channel. So all sorts of really interesting stuff to come in the future. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to follow along with the rest of these series or other strategy games that I'm going to be checking out, I think that a big thing about my channel is, like, I have like a personal like sort of mechanic that I'm always kind like trying to get out of a game. I really like resource management. I really like production chains and stacking modifiers, of course. All these different things, and I played a lot of different games where you can do these sorts of things, and some games I realized are just way better at that than others. This game here, it combines that like aspect of my channel plus my favorite game of all time, Crusader Kings, and so I think that it's just like a holy matrimony for my channel. This game is a lot of fun, and other games that I play on the channel are like a lot of fun, I think. Ostriv is a game that I think is perfect. I think it's one of the best like city builders out there. It can be a bit clunky at the best of times, but I think that as time goes on, it'll get even better and better. So I'm gonna start uploading more Ostriv content, and then another really good one, resource management. Colony building sim is Surviving Mars, which I've done. I did like a 3 hour long video on that a couple months ago, and looking back on it, it just made me want to play it more and more. So I'm gonna be uploading that as well. So I think what I want to do is like a 30-minute video on different games that not only do I like, but I think that if you like this sort of content, these sort of games, then it'll just kind of give you ideas and potentially make you want to go and play these games. Sort of shedding light on what I think is good if you like this sort of like mechanics in games and whatnot. But either way, peace.